Hey y'all, I have pretty much a full face of new makeup to try out today. There's a bunch of new stuff here that's new on the market, as well as stuff that's older on the market but new to me. So I've got stuff from Tower 28, from Rare Beauty, from Charlotte Tilbury, as well as a few other things here and there. So I'm starting out with my skincare done and some brow gel, but that's it. And I'm gonna start out with the base. Actually, my lips are feeling really dry, so I want to prep the lips first. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Lip Oil Crystal Elixir, and I actually didn't even know this was part of the Charlotte Tilbury line until they sent this over to me, but it's a lip, they call it a lip conditioner by day, a lip mask by night. It comes in this like squeezy tube, and it's a roller ball. And even though this is called a lip oil, I actually find it to be really almost like a lip mask. So it's pretty thick and glossy. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit. I like the controlled application you get with the roller ball, but it's still a really even application. And it looks like a gloss, but it feels like a mask. And it's a really nourishing, and because it's that kind of thicker texture, it does stick around the lips for a while, but it's not goopy or sticky or anything like that. It's just really nourishing, and it has kind of like a vanilla sort of scent. Before I forget, I actually now have a 15% off Charlotte Tilbury code that you can use anytime for your first purchase off of the Charlotte Tilbury website. You can use it anytime except for items that are already on sale, but obviously it's really nice to get that 15% off anytime. And I find that a lot of times the Charlotte Tilbury website has better stock than Sephora or other retailers, just in my experience of shopping. So I'm going to use a new primer today. This is the Kat Berkey Silk Protein Primer. It is almost like a serum consistency. I haven't used it yet. It comes in this really beautiful glass pump bottle with the rose gold lid, and you can hear it. So this is described as a satiny, airy, cushioning primer that helps keep makeup in place and extend your look throughout the day. Mineral sun filters offer effective protection against skin UV damage. Botanical hyaluronic acid fused with silk amino acid proteins hydrate plump skin to prevent dehydration lines and smooth the appearance of existing fine lines and wrinkles. Oh, is this an SPF? Wait, I need to look this up. Okay, this is not marketed as an SPF, but it does contain zinc and titanium dioxide, which is really interesting. I wonder if they don't market it as an SPF so they don't have to go through the SPF testing, just because I know that can be really expensive. But it does say it helps protect and preserve your complexion from the sun's harmful rays. So I wouldn't use this as your primary SPF. Obviously, it's not marketed that way, but it might have additional mineral filters that are nice. I don't honestly love mineral filters, but I'm willing to give it a shot. So again, like I mentioned, it's really fluid, and they say start with 1 to 2 pumps and work it over your skin. It definitely does have that milky serum quality. And like I mentioned, I've already applied my other skincare, so I'm just going to tap this over my skin. It does have that kind of signature Kat Berkey floral scent. It is super fluid, so I'm kind of glad I waited for a little while for my AM skincare and my regular sunscreen to set so that I'm not disturbing the skincare underneath. Because a lot of times when you put something really fluid over something more emollient, it can potentially pill. So this is sinking in nicely. It's not pilling. You can see I'm definitely tapping it into my skin, but very interesting. It doesn't have that like gritty mineral filter feel. So I'm guessing it's not that high in concentration in terms of the mineral filters. And I'm also not getting a white cast on my skin tone, but of course that is possible if you have a deeper skin tone with any mineral filter. But I'm just going to use that one pump, I think. It's adding definitely a bit of shine to my skin. It is sinking in. It feels like a hydrating serum. It's not texturally going to fill in my pores or anything like that, but I do wonder if it will help grip onto foundation. So definitely an interesting release, an interesting primer from Kat Berkey. I just brought you in a little bit closer. I generally don't like to test a new primer and a new foundation at the same time, especially when it's something that's so different and so out of the norm, like this Kat Berkey one. So I'm gonna go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. You know, I've been loving this. It was included in my last month's favorites, which I just posted. So this is the shade 6 Neutral. I'm just gonna speed you through the application of that. So this is just one pump sheared out all over my face just with a paddle brush. And I can't say whether my skin looks smoother because I don't have a lot of skin texture right now, but I do think the primer created a nice hydration in the skin. It did create a bit of luminosity. You can see I'm pretty shiny right now, which is normal for me. I have oily combo skin and this foundation is luminous, but I do think it had a slightly gripping effect on the foundation, not in any way like the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. It's not quite as gripping as that, nor does it claim to be gripping, but in a way I do feel like the foundation kind of stuck onto my skin. I'm going to build up just a little bit of coverage along my jawline and chin where I have some pigmentation, and then we'll move on to concealer. I do think my skin is looking really smooth. It's not like poreless. I wouldn't expect that again from this kind of primer, but I do feel like overall the skin complexion looks really nice and glowing and smooth across the surface. So I have a new concealer. This is the new Bobbi Brown Skin Full Cover Concealer, and my understanding is that this is replacing their last full coverage concealer. I think it's called the Instant Full Coverage Concealer. I'm actually not very familiar with Bobbi Brown's complexion products. I don't think I've tried any foundations or concealers. I have tried their under eye concealer or their under eye color corrector years ago, but it's been a long time. So I got this through Octoly. It's a platform where content creators can try products, and this is the shade Beige. This is the 9th deepest shade out of, I think, 23 or 25 shades. And even though I haven't tried a lot of Bobbi Brown products, I think they do a really good job in terms of shade inclusivity as well as various undertones. So the claims for this concealer are that it is a featherweight full coverage concealer with up to 16-hour skin perfecting power that resists creasing and settling. It's full coverage with a natural finish. I shade matched myself online just based on their like stock photos. So we'll see if this is a good match. I think this will be. I want to say this is like a light medium with neutral golden undertones, which is what I am, although I've gotten a lot of sun in the last couple of days, so we'll see. So this is what it looks like. Comes in their tube with the classic logo, and the stove foot applicator is really interesting. So it seems like almost like a curved paddle, but then there's that divot in the middle. Do you see? That's holding on to a lot of product. Is it supposed to look like this? Do you see what I mean? It's almost like the paddle is twisted around to create almost like a spoon. This is curious. Interesting. I've never seen that before. It's also pointed at the top and then curved around the side. At the top right here, it's pointed and then it curves. Different. All right. So generally, the quality I like most in any concealer is the stretchiness. How far can one dot of product go to give me the coverage I need, especially around the under eyes, because I don't like when concealers cake up or when you have to apply a lot of concealer to get coverage. I'd rather apply less of a higher coverage concealer and have less product around my eyes, if that makes sense. So we shall see. I'm just gonna start with one eye at a time. That's pretty dang light. Okay, I think we'll make it work. I generally don't go for a really light under eye, but I think we can make it work. It does feel pretty stretchy, actually. It's looking really smooth under the eye. And it does seem like those 2 dots are going a really long way. I'm making sure I like bring it pretty far down into my foundation so I can get a really good blend, because if you're going to go brighter with your concealer than your foundation, you don't want to have like almost like a sunglass tan, you know? You don't want raccoon eyes. It doesn't feel too drying. I wouldn't say it is a matte finish. I would say it's a natural finish. Let me see if I can build up coverage just in this like inner corner. Oh, and the brush I'm using is the Real Techniques medium shadow brush. It's actually an eyeshadow brush, but I really like it for under eye concealer because it's the perfect size and it's like this flat little paddle. I think I could definitely go up a shade, but this would be a good winter shade for me. Some golden undertones, I would say it's more on the neutral side. Okay, I like that. I think if you have dry skin, you might find this a little bit drying. It's not a matte finish, it's definitely natural, but it's like natural leaning matte rather than natural leaning dewy, if you know what I mean. There's no like extra creaminess or radiance in the formula necessarily, but it does have that nice stretchiness, that flexibility that I like in a concealer. I'm not going to use this to conceal on my face because I already am veering on looking like my eyes are really light and the rest of my face is more tan, especially in person. I don't know if that's translating on camera, but I suspect you could use this for face because it does have that natural finish. So it's not going to slide around. It's not overly creamy or emollient. I can't say this is my favorite applicator. I mean, it's fine, but I don't love the twisted, that like fold, that groove in the wand. I feel like it makes it easy to potentially over apply product when you have that well of product sitting in that little hole almost. It's strange, I've never seen it before, but I like the formula. So I'm just going to spot conceal with my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer, just some areas of pigmentation from previous breakouts, sunspots, that sort of thing. I also don't have any new powders, so I'm going to set around the under eyes with my Charlotte Tilbury powder and around the face with my Fit Glow Beauty powder, both of which I've talked about and demoed in my July favorites. This is the shade medium in this powder, and I think it might help warm up the under eyes a little bit because it has that yellow tint, just so they don't look too, I don't know, ashy. Going in with the Fit Glow Beauty powder, this just blurs the skin like nothing else. I've mentioned this before a few times now. So that's my base done, and I'm actually feeling like it took less powder than it usually does to kind of knock back the shine of the Charlotte Tilbury foundation, which is a more luminous foundation. This time it just really took like one pass over my whole skin with the Fit Glow powder, and I'm thinking it's because of that primer that I used. It does claim to have like a silky satiny finish, so even though it started out more luminous because it is a serum sort of formula, it actually did sink into the skin and created that yeah, like a satin veil over the skin that I can definitely see now that I've powdered my skin, which is pretty interesting. For blush and actually for lips too, I have these new shade extensions from Tower 28. So this is their Beach Please blush in their new shade Office Hour. And this is like a mauvey pink. And I love this blush formula. I've mentioned it before. And this is their Shine On Milky Lip Jelly in the shade Sesame, which is this beautiful, also like mauvey pink. And so this is their like mauvey addition to both of these lines. And I'm really excited because I love both of these formulas. I am gonna demo this later on. And I have used this and I love it, but I have not used the blush yet. So I'm excited to get this on my cheeks. So this formula is one I'm very familiar with, and it is on the dewier side, and it actually has quite a bit of body for a cream blush. It's like melty to touch, and so I find that the application method for this cream blush really matters. And if you are like me and you're combo oily, I find that applying it with a brush gives me the most diffused, smooth, even application over the skin. And it also sort of takes down some of the potential tackiness that can happen if I'm only applying it with fingers, and it really sort of melts the formula, if you know what I mean. So let me demo this for you. I'm just taking my Sephora 90 brush, any synthetic brush will do, and I like to tap in directly to the pan. This is such a beautiful shade, and I really trust that Tower 28 is going to do mauvey tones well, because I don't always love mauvey tones. They have to have the right amount of warmth and depth for my skin. And I just, ooh, do you see that? That's so pretty. I'm just really excited to try this. Ooh, I love that shade. It's almost like a rose with a mauvey undertone. It's not just that like straight up cool toned kind of almost gray quality that mauve shades can have. This actually has a bit of like vibrance to it and that rosiness that is so gorgeous. Oof, I love that. But yeah, you can already see there is quite a bit of dewiness to this blush. That said, for a dewy blush, I actually find this to be super long lasting. It's dewy, but there's almost a gripping quality to this formula that makes it last all day long. And it is also great for layering other blushes, layering other cheek products. Liquid illuminators wear really beautifully over this formula. And of course, the price point of Tower 28 is always really good. I think these blushes are like $15 to $20, I want to say. Okay, yeah, I just looked these up and they're $20, great price point. I want to say that I feel like this blush is going to look different on different skin tones and undertones. On me, because my skin tone is more golden, it can get a little bit warmer in the summer. I feel like it's pulling out those berry tones and almost like a raspberry tone. And I think if you have cooler undertones, if you have pinkier undertones, it's going to pull cooler toned on you. I think it also has enough depth that it's going to show up on deeper skin tones as well as sheer out on lighter skin tones. And I do find this blush formula especially to be really buildable. You know, some cream blushes are so transparent that you can only build to a certain extent, whereas this one, you can sort of increase the pigmentation without the blush going patchy or funny or moving around on the cheek. So I'm moving on to eyes. I have worn this Charlotte Tilbury Exaggerize palette on camera before, but I haven't demoed it, and I am really surprised by this palette. So I don't think it's a new palette, and it's just a quad. So on the surface, this palette doesn't look super exciting, right? You have like a shimmery cream, a shimmery champagne, a matte deeper brown, and then this topper. But it does look different on the eyes, and it adds this beautiful luminosity and sheen to it, especially this topper shade that is so unexpected and very different from how it appears in the pan. So here are the swatches. You have that pearly champagne, this shimmery rose gold, and this topper, which is so surprising. There's almost this duochrome quality to it. It has that like taupey base, but it has a silvery shine that catches the light so beautifully, especially on the eye. And this matte is so soft, so creamy, so blendable. It's almost like a chestnut brown rather than your standard, you know, neutral brown shade. But the beauty of these shades is really how they wear and look on the eye. And even though it's neutral, you know I love my neutrals, and this is actually a quad in which I would use every single one of these shades, and I have used every single one of these shades. So if you are that person that is just looking for like a one and done, easy to wear, daytime into evening palette, I think you would love this. And I have tried Charlotte Tilbury's original Pillow Talk quad. That was actually the first eyeshadow quad I had tried from her. And I liked it, but I wasn't totally blown away by the formula. For some reason, I don't know if they're different formulas, I find these shades and these formulas to perform in a much richer, more pigmented, smooth, impressive way overall. So I'll show you what I've been doing just for like a go-to look. Pulled you in even closer. So I'm just taking a fluffy brush. This is my Fit Glow Beauty like dual-sided eye brush into the matte brown. And it is kind of powdery. You can see there's a bit of kick up in this pan when I touch the brush to it, which is fine with me. I think that's what gives it that beautiful blendability and pigmentation, but just tap your brush off. I really like this shade because it pulls surprisingly red on me. I think you can see even just when I touch it to my eye. And even though this is like a mid to deep brown shade, I can really sheer it out evenly and get a nice blend. So if I want to pack it onto my outer corner, I can get that depth, but I can sheer it out too. I'm gonna sweep it around my under eyes as well. I just like to connect the outer corner and just almost draw like a line on along my outer lash line and then sweep it inward and then blend out the edges. Then I'm gonna flip the brush over and I'm gonna build up the pigmentation in the outer corner just so you can see how much you can do with this one matte shade. And this brush is perfect for this kind of work. So that is the matte eyeshadow. This side is looking a little bit patchier because I have like this little bit of irritation on the outer corner. So I'm just gonna leave it there, it's fine. Then I'm going to take the soft shader Sonia G brush into the Champagne Rose Gold and just sweep that all across the eye. Super easy to work with, very blendable. It's just a beautiful, I mean, this could be like a great one and done eyeshadow too. Easy to work with. You see how it just glides on really evenly across the lid? And so I can demo all 4 shades in this. I'm gonna flip the brush over into the lighter shade and just lightly brighten up my inner corner. This is a really bright shade on me, so I don't wanna add too much. And I like to blend that all the way in. Then here's the fun part. I'm gonna go into the topper. You can see I've already really dug into it, and I do think it helps to kind of warm it up with your fingers because it does include those micro glitters and it is pretty firmly packed. And then I'm going to press it across the center of my lid and just, I mean, kind of all over. I'm just mushing it all together. But do you see there's that silver sparkle that's kind of unexpected? I feel like it actually cools down the overall eye look. It was going in like a pretty warm, rosy direction, but this topper actually takes it in a edgier, taupey direction that I really love. And I think it's an interesting contrast between that warm base matte shade and then the silvery taupey topper. So you can see how beautiful this twinkle is. I'm actually going to line my eyes with the Make Beauty Continuum eyeliner, which I've reviewed in a previous video in the shade Retrograde, which is like this maroon sort of shade. So this is just going to add like a subtle pop of color along the lash line. I didn't wing it out or anything. I just got very, very close to the lash line. So hopefully you can see that. But if you want a full review of this, check out that Make Beauty video. And if you're looking for a long wear budge proof gel liner, this is an amazing formula. For mascara, I'm also trying out another Charlotte Tilbury item. This is the Legendary Lashes Volume 2 in the shade Black. And I've actually never tried any of Charlotte Tilbury's mascaras, so this is new to me. It's called the Instant Volume and Length Miracle Mascara. So it's supposed to make lashes look longer, fuller. It's not waterproof, but it is water resistant. And this has a natural bristle sort of wand. It's quite chubby, but it also has some definition between the bristles. I have a lash lift right now, so I'm not going to curl my lashes. I might just go straight in with this. We'll see how it goes. I do feel like the wand is holding on to, it's like gripping on to my lashes, which is nice. I'm pleasantly surprised that the mascara is not clumping up. Oftentimes I find with voluminous mascaras, they just apply so much product at once that it can be difficult to build length, and they can potentially weigh down my finer lashes. But this is actually very buildable. It's not applying too much at once. So that's the mascara done. I really like that. I feel like it created a really beautiful fluttery lash. It didn't clump up, it built length nicely, and it's not too heavy. It's not weighing my lashes down. I'm just gonna finish off my brows with my Colourpop brow pencil. This is not new. This is the shade Ash Brown. This pencil just keeps going and going. But you know, it's been really interesting to see Charlotte Tilbury blow up. I mean, obviously they have really smart marketing, but I also feel like the Charlotte Tilbury look is the look of the moment, where they have obviously a very glam sort of aesthetic, but it's also very approachable, and it invites the everyday person to partake in glam without being overwhelming. I mean, obviously the woman knows her neutral tones, her roses, her browns, her champagnes, the peachy pinks. They have every tone under the sun, but they have really maximized the space of glam neutrals without being overwhelming, and while still being approachable, I think, for the everyday person. For lip liner, I have one of the new Rare Beauty Kind Words matte lip liner shades in the shade Talented. And I was not planning on picking this up, but I had to stop by Sephora for a different thing for a partnership I'm working on. And I just decided to swatch all of the new Rare Beauty lip liners as well as the lipsticks. And I was so impressed by the formula of these. They're super creamy, the lipsticks and the lip liners, and there are a beautiful range of undertones from warm to neutral to cooler toned. I do think they lean overall a little bit warm. So it looks like that has a silver cap and then the shade little band around the end there. Talented is described as a true neutral beige. Here's a swatch of the pencil. This is almost like a gel crayon in that it is not overly pigmented on me. It has like a nice creaminess and like a flexibility to the formula. This is actually a perfect shade for overlining the lips if your lips are my tone, because it's so close to my natural lip line or my natural lip tone. You know, now that I've built it up on my lips, I do think it is more neutral than I thought it would be, just based on the swatch. I mean, granted, my lips have a very warm brown undertone, so I think it looks cooler in contrast, but it does give you that sort of nice defining quality to it because it's not too warm. Then I'm gonna finish off with the Tower 28 lip jelly in the shade Sesame, which is described as a semi-sheer milky mauve. I have been using this shade and it's so flattering on me. It just creates that beautiful bit of rosiness. I mean, a lot like the blush, that rosiness without being too cool toned for me. So this is the component. It's super cute. Comes with a little doe foot applicator that's not too big. And I'm just going to apply it now. You can see it has a decent amount of pigment and still some sheerness to let your natural lip shine through. and it has a bit of shine. It just smooths over the lips beautifully, and it looks really good with that lip liner, actually. See, it's like cool toned, but wearable. See what I mean? It's like pink, but it's not overly pink. It's mauve, but it's not gray or cool toned. It's still really lively, and it makes me think maybe I like wearing cool tones. Okay, so that is the makeup done. Let's talk about everything real quick. This was really interesting. I didn't feel like at first it was going to have much of a primer function because it seemed to add hydration. There was that confusion around the sun protection, but actually as my makeup application went on, and especially after I powdered, I did notice that my skin is feeling and looking a little bit more satiny, a little bit smoother. The difference is subtle, but I wouldn't even call this mattifying. It just kind of created a nice like veil underneath my makeup that allowed for really even application. I don't know if I would necessarily turn to this over my other primers, like the grippier primers, the Sicily Double Tensor, the Milk Hydro Grip, the ones that make a more obvious difference. But I am actually really pleasantly surprised by this, and I do think that that little bit of veil underneath the skin just made the base makeup and the cheek makeup go on really smoothly. I am really into this concealer. I wish I had a different shade, so I would definitely want to go up a shade or two in this, especially to have a little bit more warmth around the eyes. But the coverage is really nice. It's really stretchy. It has that nice flexibility as a formula around the eyes that I like. And it does make me more curious about Bobbi Brown base products. So maybe I should try some more. For the cheeks, I knew I loved this formula, but I have to admit that I am surprised at how much I like this blush color. It is not immediately the kind of blush tone that I would pick off of a display because I lean towards peachier tones, peachy pinks. I am really glad that they sent this over to me, and it's making me feel like I'm maybe liking cooler toned pinks, and that there is a way to make cooler toned pinks and mauves wearable for my skin tone, whereas in the past I've always felt like they're a little bit too ashy or gray for me. So of course, leave it to Tower 28 to kind of pull me into new blush shades. The eye products, I mean, I mentioned this quad is not entirely new. It has been one that I've been using over and over and over these last couple of weeks. But I do have to say, if you're a neutrals lover, but you want a little bit of a twist, or you want something that gives you the option to amp it up, I would say this is a great buy. All of the formulas are beautiful. The one minor thing that I'm looking out for is potential hard pan in the topper shade, because I mean, this is user specific, but I use my fingers a lot in this. Sometimes the oils from your fingers can create hard pans in topper shades. So that's just something to look out for. You might want to go over it with a brush, or make sure that it's not developing. You don't let it sit too long before it develops a hard pan. But I mean, that hasn't really happened yet. It's just something I'm looking out for. Other than that minor thing, all of these formulas are stunning, and I mean, it's a great everyday palette. I'm also pleasantly surprised with the Legendary Lashes Volume 2 mascara. I feel like I've heard very mixed reviews about Charlotte Tilbury mascaras, and granted, I do have a lash lift and a lash tint right now, so I recognize that that obviously can skew my review from the natural state of my lashes, but they look really nice right now. They're holding themselves up, and I really liked the application, like the brush itself. I liked that it wasn't clumpy. Those are things that I can gauge whether or not I have a lash tint. So yeah, definitely curious to keep using this, and I'm optimistic that it's going to be a good one. For the lip liner, I actually still have this swatch on my hand, and it's been about 10-15 minutes since I applied the lip liner, and just look, it's completely budge proof. Like, it's not moving. It was creamy when I applied it, but then it's set to a matte finish, and now it's like totally budge proof. And I think it's gonna be a really long wearing formula. It applies well, the undertones are beautiful, and it's $15. It's a great extension of the Rare Beauty line, in my opinion. And for the lip jellies, I just applied this so you know how I feel about it. It's creamy, it's moisturizing, it's nourishing over time in this shade Sesame, Again, not one I would have picked off of the display from all of the shade options, but I'm really glad I'm getting a chance to try it because it is moving me into a different color family that I don't think I would have inherently tried for myself, but now I really like it. And I feel like especially with the pink tank top, it all just kind of works together. So that's it for today's look. If there are ever any new releases, new makeup, or even old makeup you'd like me to review, definitely leave them in the comments below or tag me and stuff on Instagram. I'm always happy to share reviews of things that you guys are genuinely curious about. And it does help me stay more connected to you guys because obviously we know the makeup market is incredibly saturated, and I'm always curious to know what people are genuinely interested in, especially going into fall and autumn and holiday. I actually saw the first sneak preview of the NARS holiday collection today on Trend Mood, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's the first week of August, like it's too soon for this, but you know how makeup marketing goes. So definitely keep me posted and in tune with what you guys are interested in seeing from me. And thanks for spending some of your day with me. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.